Now this is a pretty interesting matchup that could definitely happen, and honestly it's likely that if they fought, even though Yuta is such a powerhouse, it could honestly lead to his death in the final arc. And I'm going to be talking about this today with Enemy Stand User. He's a great JJK YouTuber who has a lot of quality content, so if you enjoy JJK or if you subscribe to my channel and you like Jujutsu Kaisen, you're definitely going to like his content, so check him out, his link is in the description. But without further ado, let's start with what would happen if these two titans clashed. So we're going to split the video into two parts. First is going to be the general power scaling, and the second is going to be more of why we think this would happen thematically. So to start off with power scaling, I'm going to pass it to Enemy Stand User and see what he has to say.
Alright, it's good to be here. First to start off, I really think that Kenjaku, he's an awesome sorcerer. He really has set the standard in Jujutsu Kaisen with the way Gege has written him to be an amazing sorcerer with the power to really stand out in Jujutsu Kaisen. He has curse manipulation, which allows him to control armies and hordes of curses at any given time, and the strength of this technique is just how monstrous it is, how much of a threat it is at one time. Kenjaku is extremely gifted with how he approaches each and every situation. Curse manipulation lets him be extremely versatile with every opponent he faces, and his use of the technique has allowed him to really take advantage of every opportunity in battle. Curse spirit manipulation allows Kenjaku to use the spirits that he's collected, to use them for domains, to use them to deploy techniques, and to also absorb the curses and take them into this crazy amalgamation of Maximum Uzumaki and extract the technique themselves. This is something that is very unusual for a technique and definitely makes Kenjaku special grade and has that special grade potential. Kenjaku is an outstanding sorcerer, and he has things involving his techniques that just make him a very non-standard threat to whoever he's facing, especially to someone like Yuta, because Kenjaku has the technique, he has the versatility and the intelligence to take on Yuta Okkotsu.
Yeah, Kenjaku's quite broken, and just also add on to something that we're probably going to see a lot in the comments. It's the debate of, does Geto and Kenjaku scale to each other? Because I know I've definitely seen people say they're at the same level, because obviously they have the same body and curse technique. So shouldn't they be at the same strength in theory? And actually me and Enemy Stand User both think that Kenjaku is just blatantly way stronger than Geto. So obviously this is because Kenjaku just has so much more experience and especially knowledge. I mean, being alive for over 2,000 years, keep in mind it's older than Sukuna even. God knows just how much knowledge he has on cursed energy, probably more than even Sukuna himself, let's be honest. And it's the fact that if he does retain all of the memories that he's gotten from each body he's had, the amount of knowledge that he has on martial arts and curse techniques in general is probably off the chart. And obviously this is going into the fact that he clearly seems to have far stronger curses than Geto did. He seems to be far more crafty, and I think, as Enemy Stand User actually said, he's less eccentric, so he's more level-headed in general, which is very important in battle. And also he's got that eyes and energy, so you know he's just planned things quite a lot ahead. So I guess the general sense is that I actually think Yuta at full power is stronger than Kenjaku, because obviously as max he's very powerful, but it does bring the issue that Yuta has that 5 limit time, and with Kenjaku being the master planner that he is, he's seen through everything. He's most likely prepped up for Yuta, as this is evident as he doesn't see Yuta as a threat, as he said that to Gojo himself, and whatever plan he has, he's definitely planned for Yuta. So maybe he has a lot of curses in store to take Yuta and Rika on, maybe he knows a way to kill Yuta. I mean, regardless, I just think in every what way you look at this, no matter how strong Yuta is, with the weaknesses that Yuta has, being that massive time limit, I think Kenjaku's too strong.
Yeah, and I like what Kyle said about Geto's knowledge, and I really appreciate Geto's curse spirit manipulation technique, because it's a technique that overwrites many conditions in this world of JJK. It can harness and covet the most powerful abilities from curses, and it really stands out from very, very powerful sorcerers in the series. It's quite literally shook the Jujutsu world, and Geto's use of the power had enough leverage to start a war with the Jujutsu Foundation. And this is a technique that is extremely prominent, and even Geto himself was known as the curse, as Geto Suguru, as the worst of all curse users. So this technique really gets crazy when it starts to have this snowball effect, and you build up an amalgamation of curses, and you can actually overwhelm your enemies with the amount of curses you have to manipulate.
This may come as a shock, but to defend Yuta a bit, in all fairness, he was not holding back in Sendai, that's for sure, but he wasn't trying to kill his opponents. And it does seem that if Yuta were to take Kenjaku on, he would be far more bloodlusted, and obviously trying to go for the kill. As in his own words, he said he will kill Kenjaku. I do think he would would put up a good fight. I really think it's just as enemy stand user said, Geto's curse technique that Kenjaku has is just so unbelievably versatile, which is ironic going against Yuta, who also has a lot of versatility. Even if Yuta is strong in those 5 minutes, Kenjaku can just buy enough time with all of these curses that he has, and with his base being so powerful as well.
And this is a fight that is actually very possible to happen in the series. These two powerhouses could actually battle. Yuta hinted that he would kill Kenjaku in the future, but that's something I think about and ponder on a lot, because Kenjaku, like we were mentioning, he's an extremely stacked sorcerer, just like Yuta is. He has reverse curse, he's the second most powerful barrier user, and he has all these tools with curse manipulation and can harness all different curse techniques and domains and different things from curse. He has all these tools, and what makes Kenjaku so special is just how Gege writes. Gege has written Kenjaku to be this mastermind with a grand plan. Every time you see Kenjaku, you never know what he's thinking, you never know how he will approach an opponent, and he's always prepared. He always has something up his sleeve, and he definitely was not worried back in Shibuya when talking about Yuta Okkotsu. Kenjaku doubts Yuta's ability to take Gojo's spot as that #1 sorcerer. Yuta Okkotsu cannot be the next Satoru Gojo. Kenjaku is so sure of himself and sure that Yuta cannot face him that he is not even worrying about Yuta. That's the last thing on his mind. This is something that definitely could happen. Yuta versus Kenjaku is definitely something that's going to be an extremely powerful battle, an extremely flashy one, and I think it's something that really needs to happen just to settle their beef, just like how Yuta had beef with Geto. This is something that needs to be addressed because Yuta is the one who wants to kill Kenjaku, and Kenjaku is the one who won't let his plans be thwarted. So this is something that's very important. I think it's something that probably will happen and Gege will allow to happen in the story, but I think Kenjaku is just extremely stacked in just how he's written and how much leverage Gege gives him in the story.
And to be honest, I know this is kind of crazy to say, but I think from Kenjaku's point of view, he probably sees Yuta as nothing more than a pebble on the road. Probably the same way that he sees Chelsea, which again, I know is crazy, but considering the fact that just as enemy stand user has said, Kenjaku is just too much of a grand planner. He is on some Aizen shit right now. Because remember, he has been planning this and trying to activate this plan for over 1,000 years, probably longer even. At the very least, we know it's been 800 years that he's attempted this. And I do think in terms of the story, if this were to happen, especially in the final arc, would raise the stakes quite a lot if Yuta dies in the final battle, or if Yuta were to die before the final battle even begins in the final arc. I mean, just think about how crazy that is that Yuta, I think definitively, is the strongest sorcerer right now because of that statement that was said about Yuta being the second only to Gojo in strength. And again, in the Japanese translation, it uses the kanji for second in strength, implying Yuta right now is the strongest guy. If he were to die, yeah, that would make quite a crazy and intense situation for our main characters. And if I had to say how I think he's gonna die, I genuinely think that Yuta's gonna get done dirty, maybe some behind the back attack, maybe he's gonna get distracted or something. I do think it's gonna be quite a dirty death, probably some plan specifically to kill Yuta, because again, remember, Kenjaku doesn't need to kill Rika, he just needs to kill Yuta, so if he can somehow pull that off, Rika will go as well.
And you know, Yuta is that MC, he's that main character, so for him to go out of the story would be very impactful. We saw how impactful he was in that movie, and we know Yuta's growth is so powerful. He's such a strong sorcerer now, so seeing him die would be incredibly sad, incredibly impactful. But I feel that when Yuta goes out, it'll be something grand. I feel like Yuta would be a martyr in some sort of way, and a martyr is someone who dies for a purpose, for a cause, and I feel like his death would strengthen the morale on the sorcerer's side. And Yuta is a very strong character. He's someone you could potentially look up to. He was the one in the past, he looked up to Maki, he looked up to all these other sorcerers and how strong they were, but he was the one that was strong, and now he's growing into a person that is potentially one of the strongest sorcerers to ever live, and he's really making his mark. So him dying in some grand spectacle or him sacrificing himself for another cause would be incredibly impactful, and it really would add to his character in the story. I feel him going up against Kenjaku, and Kenjaku taking a big character like that would definitely add to Kenjaku's Black Air Force activity, because that would be insane.
And I guess it's kind of sad to say this, but Yuta isn't really part of the main cast of characters. So again, I think this cast is like Yuji, of course, Megumi, Nobara, Maki, and Panda. Wanda and Inumaki, but it does seem like beside the trio, Maki seems to have the most important relevancy, and as crazy as this is to say, I do think this would do wonders if Yuta died for Maki's character, and especially considering the fact that Maki is the only person who could go up against Kenjaku since she is someone who lies outside of fate. You know, maybe that would just give her the motivation to pretty much do what she needs to do to break this cycle, which I know is a random point, but if you want more depth on the whole fate and destiny cycle in JJK, I did make a video about that before. To just summarize it, it's sad to say, but Yuta may not have that much importance as characters such as Maki and Yuji, and especially Megumi, who do have ties to fate. And also, I do think for Yuta's character, going back to what Enemy Stan user said, obviously in my opinion, I think he's just gonna get done dirty. It would be kind of disrespectful what I think is gonna happen, but Enemy Stan user thinks he's gonna go out, like you said, as a martyr or in a spectacular way or in an important way. I think that's the main point. And I do think if Yuta goes out in the way Enemy Stan user said, this would be a fantastic way to finish his character, because it would be a roundabout way of concluding the character arc that started with JJK 0, which is that Yuta didn't have any friends or anyone to fight for, to die for. He was in a lot of sense just someone who was very depressed, who was very lonely, and just didn't have anyone. And for him to die for his friends, or to make the ultimate sacrifice to pretty much save the friends and the people he cared for, I think that would be quite poetic and just a very good way to end his character, if he were to die. Though again, I do think he's gonna get done dirty, the fans are gonna be angry, but I actually hope I'm gonna be wrong in this case. Alright, so I guess these are gonna be our final takes and final thoughts. So in my case, yeah, it's just unfortunate. There's just a lot of reasons to kill Yuta. I mean, he served his purpose. It would conclude his character arc pretty well, and it would also send quite a message to both the fans and to the actors in the JJK world if Yuta died. You know, this is the final arc, and the strongest guy just got his ass cooked. And of course, as to the power scaling, as me and Stan user have discussed, and I think that most people would agree with, Kenjaku really just is on a whole other tip.
Whether you know it or not, Yuta is an incredibly influential sorcerer. He's made a lot of waves throughout Jujutsu Kaisen, and he's an extremely stacked and extremely strong character. And he really does feel like that, like he's in that main character position. And there's a lot of conditions with him that really make his death very impactful. And I feel like it would be a nice wrap up to his character if he did go out in some sort of sacrificial way, or if he did risk his life for the Jujutsu sorcerers on their side, especially against someone like Kenjaku, who's like this very Aizen-like, very self-assured hockey individual. And if he was taken out by someone like that, that would really add to his character a lot. And it would make Kenjaku look even better as a villain, as he took someone away from us that meant so much to us. But ultimately, it all comes down to how Gege does it. He's done amazing stuff with Yuta's character. So hopefully Yuta might be able to break some barriers. He might be able to get some very amazing feats in before Kenjaku comes in and maybe snuffs him out.
And yeah, I couldn't have said it better than that. And yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think Kenjaku has what it takes to kill Yuta? Or do you think Yuta's even gonna die in general? Whatever your thoughts are, let us know, because there are quite a lot of takes on what could happen. And of course, if you do like JJK, or if you did enjoy the video, please do be sure to subscribe, and also check out Enemy Stan user as well. Because again, if you like JJK content, as you might because you just finished this video, or if you're subscribed to my channel for JJK, you really are gonna love his content. He has a ton of absolute banger JJK videos. So be sure to click his name in the title or click the link in the description. And also thank you to all of the channel members. You guys make these things possible. It's much appreciated. You guys are honestly super clutch. And yeah, take care guys. Bye bye.